All right, so now, there is a bit of a good news coming in at the Abronye DC. Nhyira say, the government spokesperson, a friend said, Felix Ofusu-Kwakye, Eddie Tujamiati, say, ruling our judge in the Maye last Friday, especially with that conclusive remarks or make here, as say, in the equal before Binum, according to a certain book and a whole lot of issues are with the two jar. Oja, so at the finalizer said, based on certain near maybe our moon and he wants to put restrictions on the Binum and one person very restricted or mono. Judge Nijina so say based on all that, or the Abronye say for another 1 week because in Ipebi eche Binum. And if you say the IGP Abronye DC could in a terminal AUB and say, Sebi Asempa so cyber threat to national security, a whole lot of issues. And a judge a busy on the decision or my Abronye DC so on 1 week. Ebusia, the bet me come what CNE. According to Felix Ofusu-Kwakye, he said a decision akoso ewa bankesim ama finally the president has intervened. Etimi ama directive ama AG, which is Attorney General, say and now what you see when Monday one share. Now, we making sure say Abronye DC ebetimi enya ne bill even before the data air court no September which is 19th no. Into we are looking at Abronye DC ebia hopefully a week we no obetimi so enya ne fa hudi na eja Wakofi ne dia case no omedi FFE instead of air remand.
There was more time, so we could get into so many more of these things. Yes. But before you leave us, one thing that I would like to hear you touch on is what the president had to say about hate speech.
Yes.
And he talked about plans on to use people's IP addresses to track them down and clamp down on hate speech as is done on social media and so forth. I had a couple of questions coming about that. One person wanted to know, can't we use that same thing to track fraudsters who are doing mobile money fraud?
And it is done. It is done. In fact, one of the things that national security touts a lot when you engage them is that they've been able to bust some of these gangs through such monitoring. So it is something that is there, except that it's not broadcast. It is not. In fact, some of these things don't even want people to know that you have the capability. It's one of the ways that you are able to take them by surprise and bust whatever operations that they are engaged in. But the bit about hate speech, you know that President Mahama is an affable. You know him quite well. Very affable, easygoing person. Very tolerant. Indeed, sometimes he is even criticized within the NDC for being too tolerant of critics. You know that Manasseh is a fierce critic of his. Indeed, I can disclose to you, Manasseh has actually met President Mahama on a number of occasions since he became president. He's hosted him, had discussions with him. So he's not somebody who is averse to criticism or even harsh criticism. Because it is allowed. We are in a democratic space. You are allowed to take on governments. It may be pleasant. In fact, the guarantees to free speech exist because the framers of the Constitution were aware that there were those who will engage in speech that is not pleasant. And those of us in power should not have the ability to go after people because they've said things that we don't like within the confines of the law. But in a situation where somebody says that I'm going to kidnap the president, kill him and behead his wife, clearly that is not free speech. That is a huge threat on the life of an individual. Forget about the fact that he's even president. On an individual, because if somebody threatened you, the person should not get away with it simply because there's free speech. So it is, and there are people who make allegations that border on national security. For instance, they say that this person is brandishing these sophisticated weapons and is going to engage in this sort of crime. Going after such a person to help you establish how he came by that information, exactly what is going to happen, is not in itself wrong. What should not be countenanced is a willful abuse of people's rights, to deny people. For instance, that's why I have been a bit surprised by the ruling of the Circuit Court judge in the Abronye matter. Abronye is known for his propaganda and all that. I mean, I doubt if there's anybody who takes him seriously in this country. He makes wild claims that are false. I doubt if he will ever host Abronye on this program because you know that he won't give you any value. But by God, even he has to have his rights defended. So I found it quite bizarre, to be honest, when I read that the judge had said, and indeed I had to read it to believe it because I couldn't believe it when it was being said that all men are supposed to be equal before the law, but some are more. I cannot understand that. I cannot understand that. Absolutely, I cannot stand.
You also read that since we're on it, you also read the judge say that he's also in a quest for consistency, and that in the previous government he held someone.
But the consistent wrong for this cannot be justified.
He held someone.
So everybody, when you beat me, you slap me. So when you beat me, you must slap me. It is not justifiable. I understand the position of the judge. We are all desirous of sanitizing the space, ensuring that people do not abuse the frontiers of free speech to foment trouble. For instance, if you have a whole MP go on radio and declare that accounts should attack FS, that clearly is not acceptable. So you cannot say that in the past somebody was denied bail. So a similar thing should be done to somebody. Everybody, including murderers and armed robbers, through Martin Kpebu's interventions at the Supreme Court, it has been declared that everybody deserves bail. So after you hold a person 1 or 2 days and you take him to court, there should be bail. Of course, if the judge had said and left it at that Abronye is a flight risk, because already he is claiming that he wants asylum in some members, so he's a flight risk. That is an acceptable rationale. Even then, it has to be done in a way that does not seek to abuse his right. But to say that he's not equal before the no, indeed, everybody is equal, from the president to the cleaner at Multimedia. We are all equal before the law. So I think that one is problematic and something needs to be done. I am aware that there are efforts to ensure that is corrected, and that it does not become the basis upon which he sells, despite whatever he says. That
what are these efforts? Is the executive going to intervene?
Oh, of course, the police is the one doing the prosecution, but you do know that the Attorney General also can at any point intervene and take over the prosecution. So I'm aware that the Attorney General is making efforts to ensure that bail is granted to Abronye, despite the undesirable nature of his commentary over the years.
There's so much more we need to talk about.
But I would have loved to go on and on. Unfortunately,
time is not. But let's talk about the Gold Board answer. The president said that, well, in the past, before the Gold Board, these foreign aggregators were the ones, making the money from all this illegal gold. Today, at least, government is making that money. So it's the lesser of two evils, if you will. There have been reactions to this. Dr. Cadman Mills from the KEEA constituency.
That would be Dr. Cadman Mills is the elder brother of
Dr. Cadman Mills. Forgive me.
Samia Adams is the MP for KEEA.
Forgive my mistake. Dr. Cadman Mills.
He is the twin brother of President Mills.
That's right. Mills, He has said emphatically that he is not willing to trade people's lives for the accolades that the government may get for an improved economy. This is his reaction to what the president
said. There are two separate issues. You see, there's no dispute about the fight against galamsey. That exists. The reason for that is that we want to preserve lives. We want to ensure that our lives, our environment is not threatened by the activities of galamsey. Then there's another issue, which is purely economic. Indeed, there was a famous incident involving the late His Excellency Kwaku, Mr. Arthur. He went to India for a forum. In his speech, and he wanted to highlight the level of trade between Ghana and India, he mentioned that Ghana exports about 1.8 tons or so of gold to India annually. When he finished speaking, the Indian trade minister who was at the forum said, no, the figures they have show that we have in excess of 4 tons of gold traded between Ghana and India annually. So immediately he pointed to a certain shortfall in our own ability to monitor what is leaving our shores. So as part of the Gold Board arrangements, we are monitoring how much gold leaves our shores. Whilst doing that, it enables us get much needed foreign exchange to bolster our own currency, because the effect of depreciation are harsh and we all feel it. So there's an economic downside to not taking control of gold exports. Now, again, the notion that some gold that government superintends in terms of its exports may come from illegal mining, at this stage, is conjecture, because we don't really have hardcore evidence to show. So it may be an educated guess, a legitimate concern, nonetheless, that cannot be downplayed.
So the fact is that what you're saying officially is that government doesn't know whether
let me say this way. The point is that as we speak, if you say that galamsey gold is being exported as part of what government is talking about, you need to show hard evidence of it. But even if we take it for granted, if there are increased volumes of gold export, then there must be some galamsey gold going in there. Something must be done about it. In the interim, though, it is in our interest as a country to have a handle on how much gold is leaving our shores, to have access to the foreign exchange that accrues from SIM. Because we do know that for a long time, Dubai, India, traders there have profited from our gold. That is one argument. And then as part of the Gold Board arrangement itself, there's a mechanism that is being put in place to ensure that gold from dubious sources do not find their way into what is being exported. Indeed, the president mentioned the LDMA certification. which is an industry standard that requires that gold must come from certified, approved sources. So it is in our own interest as a country that the gold we market is seen to be coming from quote unquote clean sources and not from tainted sources. So the president did not say that it was justifiable to have gold come from illegal sources insofar as it gives us foreign exchange. No, he says that as we speak, we do not have that mechanism fully set up yet. But by all means, we must have a handle on how much gold is leaving. And the results show that it has a positive effect on our economy. Indeed, Kwadwo, since the beginning of this year till last month, $6 billion has been accrued from gold exports alone. If you compare it to the same period last year, it was just about half.
Tell us about that 6 billion.
Yeah.
Is that all money accrued to the government of Ghana?
What it does is that the foreign exchange comes. So what happens? Gold board buys gold with money from the Bank of Ghana. They give them cedis. So they buy the gold, they export, they get dollars. So they give it to the Bank of Ghana. Goes into three things: to show up our reserves, to help finance our external obligations, and then to release some onto the market for traders and businessmen who require that. That is what has substantially boosted our currency. So now the Bank of Ghana has close to $12 billion in reserves. And a significant part of that has come from gold exports, which is great. There can be no difficulty about that. But it does not mean that we are saying that if Galamsey gives us $20 billion annually, it is all well and good. No, that is not what the president said. Indeed, that is why he took his time to go through what is being done to ensure that the purity, or if you like, the source of the gold that we are exporting is legitimate and that it does not have.
Let me ask you this: what's the current situation? So
Sure.
if someone comes along to the gold board with gold to sell, is it impossible for the gold board to check that these?
Oh, I think they have. Even PMMC had. They are licensed. The person they come with it will be a licensed buyer of gold, but you may not know where he got the gold from. He will only be brandishing a license so that he is certified to trade in gold. But the systems are being put in place to make sure that you are able to tell where he got the gold from. That didn't exist before we came to power, or even if it existed, it was highly dysfunctional or not able to cover the areas that it should be covering. But now we are putting that in place to make sure that we determine the source, and that if the source is deemed to be inappropriate or illegal, then it will not be added. Action will be taken against those who are trading that. Now it takes a bit of time to have that system fully in place, but in between that period, if we are making efforts to have a handle on our own gold and earn legitimate foreign exchange to help bolster our economy, I don't think that there's much difficulty. That's what the president said that day.
But we know that 1 + 1 = 2.
Absolutely.
So if currently we are seeing an increase in our gold revenue through the activity of the gold board, and we are saying that it is a fair assumption that some of this gold is illegal, do you see the clear motivation there to not be as hard on Galamsey?
Oh, not at all.
Just so that the economy benefits?
Not at all. You see,
if we are admitting that some of it is Galamsey gold.
In addition to large-scale gold production, there's also small-scale mining, which is perfectly legal. Perfectly legal. In the past, it is those in that sector who have not been able to account for gold exports. So they export the gold through their own means, and then they use these middlemen, the Indians, the people from Dubai and what have you. So that is where the gold board is focusing, to ensure that the small-scale miners account for the gold that have been exported. We also have agreements. I think at the last count, there were about 9 major gold producers, large-scale gold producers, who are also surrendering significant portions of the gold they mine to gold board for export. And the plans are to extend it to add another 9 or so. I'm sure the gold board folks will be able to give you more information on that. So it is not necessarily the case that the increase in volumes has come from illegal mining. There were small scale miners who were not factored in initially. Now because there was no law compelling them to surrender that gold to government. Now there's a law that says that if you don't, government is the only purchaser through just like we have for cocoa. So the gold board arrangement is a bit modeled on the cocoa arrangement, even if there are small differences. So that is what it is about, really. Of course, any concern that illegal gold may find its way into the stock is legitimate. It must be looked into, definitely. But I don't think that a conversation that says that this arrangement necessarily motivates people to go into illegal mining is accurate. The crime, there can be no excuse for crime. Indeed, if you said that you were hungry and so you robbed somebody, I don't think that your court will accept that. They will still convict you. You understand me? So we need to be clear on exactly what is happening. The president is by no means encouraging illegal mining in favor of increased gold exports for foreign exchange receipts. That is not what is happening at all.
When will the IGP's men be back on the ground?
Oh, they should indeed. Yesterday, I had a discussion with the the land minister, and he informed me that indeed last week the IGP and his team had got in touch with 9 months to regularize their operation. So I'm sure they'll be back in a matter of days.